Ever been betrayed at work? Stick around to see how I got revenge on my boss who stole $250,000 from me. My name is Sophia Zhang, I'm 34 years old, and 3 years ago, I walked away from a corporate job in Chicago that nearly shattered me. I was a senior account manager at Apex Capital, a private equity firm managing portfolios for ultra-wealthy clients. I wasn't just good at my job, I was exceptional. I closed deals others couldn't dream of, turned hesitant investors into loyal clients, and brought in tens of millions in assets. But to my boss, Richard Baxter, I was nothing more than a tool, a revenue stream he could exploit until I dared to challenge him. It all fell apart in the fall of 2022. I'd just secured a $60 million deal with a private equity group in Hong Kong, a grueling process that demanded months of late-night calls across time zones, flawless pitch decks, and navigating cultural nuances that left me drained. My commission was supposed to be $250,000, a sum I'd earmarked to clear the last of my student loans and buy a condo in Chicago's Gold Coast. I'd been living in a cramped studio in Logan Square, where the walls were thin enough to hear my neighbor's TV and the heat flickered like it was on strike. That commission was my way out, my chance at stability. On a crisp October morning, I sat at my desk, refreshing my bank account, waiting for the deposit. Nothing. I checked again the next day. Still nothing. By day 3, my patience wore thin. I walked into Richard's office, a sleek glass box with a view of the Chicago River and a desk that screamed old money. "Richard," I said, keeping my tone even, "my commission from the Hong Kong deal hasn't hit. Can you look into it?" He leaned back, his custom suit barely creasing, and gave me that condescending smile I'd grown to despise. "Sophia, it's probably stuck in accounting. You know how slow they are. Give it a few days." His voice was smooth, but his eyes darted to his computer screen. Something was wrong. Richard had always been slick, quick to praise when it served him, quicker to claim my wins as his own, but this felt different. Like he was hiding something. A week passed. No deposit. I emailed accounting. Their response was curt, no record of a commission payment for the Hong Kong deal. My heart sank. I printed the deal's contract, highlighting my commission clause in bright yellow, and went back to Richard. "There's an issue," I said, sliding the paper across his desk. "Accounting has no record of my commission." He didn't even glance at it. "Sophia, you're overreacting. It's being sorted. Focus on the Tokyo pitch. That's your priority." His tone was sharp now, like I'd annoyed him by existing. I didn't back down. "This is my money, Richard. I need to know where it is." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." "I'll handle it." I left, but the knot in my stomach tightened. That money wasn't just a bonus, it was years of sacrifice. I'd grown up in a working-class suburb of Chicago, the daughter of Chinese immigrants who ran a small grocery store. My parents worked 14-hour days, stocking shelves and balancing books, saving every cent for my education. They didn't understand private equity, but they knew I'd succeeded when I sent them photos of my business cards, my name in Apex's annual report. That commission was for them, too. I started digging. Discreetly. I reached out to a friend in accounting, Clara Wong, who owed me a favor after I'd helped her with a client pitch. Over coffee, she slid me a file. "Don't tell anyone I gave you this," she whispered. The numbers were damning. My $250,000 commission was listed as reallocated to discretionary fund. I pressed her for more. "Richard signed off on it," she said, glancing around nervously. "He called it a strategic investment." That night, I sat on my lumpy couch, a glass of Pinot Noir in hand, staring at the city lights through my cracked window. A strategic investment? Richard had been boasting for months about his side hustle, a fintech startup called Quantum Ventures, run with his college buddy, Nathan Reed. It was all buzzwords: crypto, decentralized finance, revolutionizing wealth management, but he'd been pitching it to clients, using Apex's name to lend it credibility. I'd overheard him at a company event, laughing with Nathan about locking in the seed round. It hit me like a brick, my commission was funding his dream. The next morning, I confronted him. I didn't knock. I shut his office door and said, "You took my $250,000 and funneled it into quantum ventures, didn't you?" His face went from pale to flushed in seconds. "That's a bold accusation, Sophia," he snapped. "You have no evidence." "I have the accounting file," I said, holding up the folder. "You marked my commission as a discretionary transfer. Without my consent. That's theft." He stood, looming over his desk. "You're out of line. This is how firms operate. Funds get redirected for the greater good. You think you're special because you closed one deal? One deal?" My voice trembled, not from fear but rage. "I brought in $60 million this quarter. I've been carrying your team for years, and you stole from me to bankroll your startup." He laughed, a cold, brittle sound. "You're done, Sophia. Clear your desk. You're fired." I froze. Fired? For asking about my own money? For insubordination, he said, already typing an email. "HR will have your severance ready by noon." Security escorted me out, my belongings shoved into a cardboard box. Colleagues stared, some whispering, others looking away. Clara texted me, "I'm so sorry. I didn't think he'd go this far." I didn't respond. I was too angry, too humiliated. But as I rode the elevator down, something shifted. Richard thought he could erase me, but he didn't know who I was. I was the girl who'd taught herself financial modeling at 15, who'd earned a full ride to Northwestern, who'd outworked every entitled frat boy in the room. He'd underestimated me, and that was his fatal mistake. The next week was a storm of fury and strategy. I hired a lawyer, Anika Patel, a fierce litigator who specialized in corporate malfeasance. She reviewed the accounting file and let out a low whistle. "This is textbook misappropriation," she said. He didn't even try to hide it. "We can sue for wrongful termination, breach of contract, and theft." "Do it," I said. "But I want more than money. I want his career in ruins." Anika grinned. "I like your fire. Let's start with the lawsuit and see how deep this goes." While Anika built the case, I got to work. I'd spent years cultivating contacts in Chicago's finance scene, and I knew where to look for leverage. Richard's startup was no secret at Apex. He'd been using company resources, client databases, conference calls, even our interns, to push quantum ventures. I reached out to a former colleague, Daniel Kim, who'd jumped to a rival firm. Over beers, he confirmed my suspicions. "Richard's been siphoning funds for months," Daniel said. "Not just yours. He's been skimming bonuses across the team." "How much?" I asked, my grip tightening on my glass. "Could be $1 million, maybe more. Nathan's cooking the books, but it's sloppy." I leaned back, my mind racing. This was bigger than my $250,000. Richard was robbing everyone. I thanked Daniel and started making calls. I contacted every colleague I trusted, piecing together a paper trail. By month's end, I had statements from 4 other account managers who'd noticed missing bonuses, all rerouted to discretionary funds. I handed everything to Anika. The lawsuit hit Apex like a grenade. Anika filed for wrongful termination, breach of contract, and misappropriation, naming Richard and Nathan as co-defendants. A local business journal got wind of it, and soon, Richard's name was plastered across headlines. Apex exec accused of diverting employee bonuses to personal startup. Clients started pulling their accounts. Apex's CEO, Eleanor Hayes, called an emergency board meeting. I wasn't there, but Daniel was, and he texted me, "Richard's panicking. Eleanor's livid." They're auditing everything. I didn't stop at the lawsuit. Richard's startup was his obsession, his ticket to being a visionary. I found Quantum's pitch deck on a public investor site, amateurish, full of jargon and inflated projections. It promised a crypto platform for wealth management, but the tech was outdated, and the financials were a fantasy. I sent it to a friend, Mia Chen, a fintech reporter at a national outlet. "This is juicy," she said. "Give me a few days." Her article dropped on a Tuesday. Apex Capital manager allegedly stole employee bonuses to fund doomed fintech venture. It included leaked emails and Quantum's pitch deck, exposing Richard's scheme. X lit up with posts calling him a corporate conman and Quantum a house of cards. Investors bailed. Nathan issued a statement claiming it was a misunderstanding, but the internet wasn't buying it. By January 2023, the lawsuit was gaining momentum. Anika deposed Richard, who fumbled his testimony, claiming that discretionary fund was for team bonuses, then admitting it went to Quantum. Eleanor fired him within days, citing ethical violations. Apex settled with me for $600,000, more than double my commission, plus a public apology. But I wasn't finished. I used part of the settlement to launch my own firm, Zhang Partners. I'd built strong relationships with Apex's clients, and many followed me. By March, I'd signed 4 major accounts, including the Hong Kong group. My firm was small, a River North office, a part-time assistant, and me, but it was mine. I set my own rules, worked with clients who respected me, and answered to no one. Quantum Ventures imploded. Without Apex's resources, Richard and Nathan couldn't sustain it. Their lead engineer quit, and their last investor pulled out after Mia's second article, which exposed Nathan's history of shady ventures. Richard tried rebranding Quantum as a consulting firm, but it was a desperate move. Daniel told me Richard was now a freelance advisor, cold calling small businesses for work. Christmas 2023 was my triumph. I'd bought that Gold Coast condo, a 2-bedroom with a balcony overlooking Lake Michigan. I hosted a holiday party for my new team, Clara, who'd joined Zhang Partners, and a few freelancers I'd hired. We ate dumplings and drank sparkling wine, surrounded by fairy lights and laughter. Clara raised her glass to Sophia, who took down a crook and built an empire. As we clinked glasses, my phone pinged. An email from Richard. "Sophia," it read, "I know we had a rough patch. I made errors. Can we meet? I'm starting a new venture and could use your insight." I showed it to Clara, who laughed so hard she nearly spilled her drink. "He's delusional," she said. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Anika, now a friend. "Should we send a cease and desist for kicks?" I texted. She replied, "Let him squirm. He's got nothing." A year later, summer 2024, Zhang Partners was soaring. I'd hired 3 consultants and moved to a larger office with a view of the skyline. My parents visited from their retirement home in Nevada, their faces glowing with pride. "We knew you'd do big things," my dad said, hugging me. I didn't mention the years they'd urged me to play it safe and become an accountant. That was the past. I saw Richard at a finance conference that fall. He looked worn, his suit cheap, his eyes tired. He approached me at a networking event, forcing a grin. "Sophia, you're killing it. I always knew you were a star." "Cut it," I said, sipping my sparkling water. "You stole from me. You fired me. You thought I'd vanish." He flinched. I was under stress. "I didn't mean." "You meant it," I interrupted. "You thought I was nothing. But I'm still standing." "You're not." I walked away, leaving him clutching his drink. Mia texted me later, "Richard's selling car insurance now. Some venture." I smirked and blocked his number for good. By spring 2025, Zhang Partners managed a $120 million portfolio. I was mentoring young women in finance, teaching them to spot predators like Richard. My parents sent photos of their new patio, funded by a gift I'd sent. Clara and I planned a company retreat to Kyoto, inspired by a trip I'd taken with my partner, Leo, who'd stood by me through every battle. Richard's name surfaced one last time in a group chat with old Apex colleagues. "He's bankrupt," Daniel wrote. "Lost his condo." Nathan cut him off. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I'd won. But the real victory came quietly. One evening, I sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching the city glow. Leo joined me, his arm around my shoulders. "You built this," he said, gesturing to the view, "the life we were creating." I nodded, feeling a peace I'd fought for. Months later, I got a voicemail from Richard's sister, Ellen Baxter. "Sophia, family's struggling. Richard's in a bad place. Can you help?" I deleted it. Family didn't steal from you. Family didn't fire you for asking questions. I'd built my own family, Clara, Leo, my team, my clients. They were enough. Last week, I was named a top under 40 leader in Chicago finance. At the gala, my team cheered as I accepted the award. Clara joked, "Richard probably felt your bank account grow from his cubicle." Leo and I toasted on my balcony later, planning a future, a house, maybe a dog. My phone buzzed. Clara again. "Richard's mom says you're heartless for abandoning him." I laughed. Let them talk. I'm living my truth. If you've ever been betrayed by someone who thought they could crush you, I want to hear your story. Share what you overcame, what you built. Your support reminds me we're not alone. My advice: don't wait for their apology. Build your own legacy, and let them choke on your success. Did you enjoy the story of karma striking back? Subscribe to Karma's Counterstrike for more, and share your own workplace betrayal in the comments.